Hello. Glad to have everyone with us. How are you guys doing? Weather is getting colder. So thank you for dedicating the time to attend today's session. As always, we are very happy to have you here with us for this hour-long session. So without further ado, let's start. All right. Today we'll talk about what's new for Philips HearLink 50. So I know that Thomas, for some of you, probably had a chance to visit some of the clinics or some of your offices earlier this year to introduce Philips HearLink 50. So you probably know the basics. And today we'll try to add on to that knowledge with the updates that we have on technology, connectivity, and of course, the software. So on behalf of the Philips team, I'm Marielle, and with me is Christina. There we go. So both of us will be taking part in today's session. I will take over the first part, and Christina will take over the second. Christina, would you like to say something?
Yeah, welcome to everybody. I quickly checked the list of participants and I see we are from all over the world. So very exciting that you dedicate this hour and the last day of the week to us. Hopefully it will make a great weekend for you.
Yes. I know our faces, you miss us. No, I'm just kidding. But let's move on, shall we? Okay. So in the first part of 2024, we proudly introduced this new HearLink 50 Mini Right, which is our latest hearing aid innovation. And now in the second half of 2024, we are introducing new products and features that will create even more comfort and convenience both for you and for your clients. We'll revisit the key highlights in HearLink 50. I will talk about the new Charger Plus, also for the HearLink 50. And then I can show you our latest animated video that we have made for Sound Guide, which is, as most of you know, part of SoundMap 3. And then after that, Christina will take over talking about what's new with HearSuite and also SoundTie 3 with this dedicated streaming pathway for streaming audio. You'll learn more about that later on. And all throughout the chat, just type the questions as it comes to you. Try to be a bit clearer in your questions. Sometimes we might miss the context, so try to put the whole sentence of your question. And then we'll gather all of that, answer that at the end of this session, all right? So when we released Philips HearLink 50, we really wanted a hearing aid which was AI powered and something which allowed the focus to be on the hearing aid user. And that's why with each release, we really try to continually introduce advancements in terms of our sound processing and also our connectivity protocols, because at the end of the day, we just want to help the hearing aid user in their hearing journey and to help them create connections. And for those who has been with Philips since the start, we know that our motto is creating connections. So we try to do that with the products that we have. So let's revisit the unique features for HearLink 50 Mini Right that is designed to fit a broad range of needs, both in terms of hearing loss and also audiological features. So the new features include a unique and stylish design. This is a brand new hardware, and it's offered in 7 colors in 4 technology levels, which is 9050, 7050, 50050, and 3050. And this design is even more compact and sleeker than our previous HearLink 40 rechargeable Mini Right. There is also a brighter pulsing LED, and that's also different from what we've had from before to indicate the battery and the charging status, as well as the other visual indicators that we have for HearLink 50. And we also have a single push button So that's another big difference from HearLink 40, which had 2 push buttons. HearLink 50 has only 1, and it makes it a bit more intuitive and kind of going back to our roots in that sense. Because in the previous model, I'm not sure how many of you still know the older mini, right, that we had from the Zero series, the HearLink 00 series, and we're kind of bringing that back with HearLink 50. HearLink 50 also has a longer battery life. I'll be talking about that later on. And we are also introducing the new MiniFit Detect smart receivers, which are detectable in HearSuite, and it can also self-calibrate. I'll talk more about that later on. It is also LE audio ready, so it's compatible with LE audio, meaning it can support LE audio devices, including, hopefully in the future, Auracast. And finally, HearLink 50 has faster contact charging, thanks to the new hearing aid design and also the new chargers. And this allows all of your clients to charge a full day's power in just 1 hour. Well, that's very catchy, right? And if you want to use it, and if you only have, let's say, 15 minutes to charge a hearing aid, you can get up to 4 hours. So that's really a good balance in terms of the time needed. So overall, these hardware, these hearing aids are robust, reliable, and it has an IP68 rating, which is for the dust and water resistance. And what is, I think, interesting for you to also remember is that all the important parts in this hearing aid, all the main components, the amplifier, the push button, the battery, they are all nano-coated inside and out. And also you will see that the logo of Philips is on both sides of the hearing aid. So let's just quickly revisit and open up the hardware so you can see what's inside. I'll just use my laser pointer here to show you the different parts in relation to each other. So at the bottom, we have the telecoil, and that still exists. It's located at the bottom part, just below the lithium-ion battery, size 13. And then here, you would see on the left are the contact. So this is how the battery is able to recharge, and this is one big difference from the HearLink 40 Mini-Ride TR. On the right, you have the single push button, which is connected to the motherboard. This is the chip where all of the magic happens. And this is also where you will find the motion sensor responsible for sound guide. And then above that is where you would see the LED. And this is where you mount the receiver, which are the new MiniFit Detect receivers. And at the top, we have our really high quality microphones. So overall, that's what you find inside the new HearLink 50 hardware. The new MiniFit Detect system is a very innovative, and it's a new smart receiver in that sense, because it is a self-calibrating receiver, which features a new 8-pin connector with its own embedded memory. And this memory identifies the serial number, the fitting level of the receiver, how long it is, and also whether it's the right or the left side, all of which can be detected automatically by HearSuite, ensuring that the correct receiver is connected. Every single receiver is actually measured in our factory during production, and this data is stored in order to compensate for any deviations and to make sure we secure a really precise fit when it comes to the hearing aid output. The new MiniFit Detect receivers for fitting levels 60 and 100 receivers also have a higher maximum power output compared to their predecessors, which brings fitting flexibility and the possibility of a better target match. So this increased maximum power output has a very significant clinical impact for you, especially. And let's say with the fitting level 60 speaker unit, it actually allows your clients with smaller ear canals to stay with a smaller receiver, because this new 60 mini-fit detect receiver actually provides more gain than the previous 60 speaker. So this means that your clients do not need to switch to 85 per se. And this increased headroom could overall have this positive impact on the sound quality. That's one more thing. So this allows you also to feel more confident that it's able to provide that power even if it comes in a smaller package. And the same goes for the Speaker 100. So the new receiver also includes this error mode, which is a safety function to prevent the hearing care professional from making any errors. So in case you fit the wrong speaker, it will tell you, hey, this is not the fitted speaker from before. Do you still want to proceed? And if you want to change a speaker, for example, it's not working, then just click on proceed and use the new speaker. And this is really important for you who are not familiar, because unlike the previous versions of HearSuite, this new mini-fit detect speakers needs to be physically attached to the HearLink 50 hearing aids in order for these hearing aids to be detected by HearSuite. If you did not attach the receivers, it will not be possible to proceed with the fitting. So this is, again, one big difference from before. Even though we have a new speaker or receiver, I'm very happy to tell you that we still use the same mini-fit earpieces, ranging all the way from the smaller domes on the left that you see there, made of silicone, of course, and then we have the grip tip made of the soft rubber material, and then we have the slightly bigger customized light tip and micromolds, which could either be made of the softer Autotherm material and the harder acrylic that you see on your right, depending on what is available in your clinic. And speaking of molds, let's just do a quick comparison. I know you guys know your stuff, but let's just review in case you want to refamiliarize yourself with what each dome or ear tip is for. So as you can see below on the left, we offer one new earpiece, and that is called Microshell Detect. And this is only available for the new mini-fit Detect speakers. So in many ways, Microshell Detect is actually similar to light tip and micromold, and there's no clear, hard guideline on which is the best for what. Let's start first at the very top, which is the light tip. So as you can see, the light tip is a bit more hollow, so there's not much inside, and it also fits snugly in the ear. So it is hollowed out, similar to a dome, and it feels overall lighter and it's less full. And in terms of the fitting range, it is recommended more for mild to moderate hearing loss. Now let's go to the micromold. A micromold is designed to fit deep into the ear canal for the best cosmetic appeal. And in terms of the characteristics, it is a bit more solid inside than the light tip. There's also a little space around the speaker to allow you to change the receivers, similar again to the light tip. But the big difference between these two is that the micromold provides this extra layer of wax protection, and it's ideal for those with a mild to a more severe hearing loss. And let's go to the last one. How does Microshell Detect compare to the other two? So the microshell is actually fully solid with a fully embedded receiver that could be 60, 85, 100, or 105, so all speakers. and the wire is also embedded. So the receiver and the wire cannot be changed in the clinic. That's one big difference from light tip and micromold, and it is ideal for mild to profound hearing loss because we can also use, again, the 100 and 105 mini fit detect speaker. So it is important to take note that the light tip and also the micromold, there is still space around the receiver inside the mold. So that's a good thing because you can change the receiver, of course, but also be aware that the space is where dirt and earwax can go in. So that's a con, unfortunately. This is not a case for microshell detect, and that gives a cleaning advantage, but the cons is that you have to send it to the lab if it's not working. So it's just a matter of prioritizing what you actually need in the clinic. And in terms of issues and troubleshooting with hearing aids, remember sometimes the simplest solution is often the most common solution. And these are a few things that you can easily check in your clinic before sending the device for a repair. And this definitely avoids unnecessary, hassles for our client. So on the left, you can see that it is, of course, good to go back to the basics, inspect the devices visually. Do they look damaged in any way? Should the hearing aids need to go for repair? And it's very also, it's important that you look for visible dirt and debris and try to also see if the receiver is damaged or undamaged, because sometimes, I don't know how it happens, but the client just comes into the clinic, they say there's no sound. I look at the speaker wire, it's almost separate. It's not even connected anymore. There's only a thin thread is hanging the speaker to the wire. So that's one obvious thing. And then wax protection. So the majority of you will have sat across from a client that experiences that their sound has become significantly softer all of a sudden. And this is actually quite common. And you can easily just change this issue by changing the wax filter. This is something also worth remembering every time a client complains, oh, suddenly I cannot hear the sound. And then you do the hearing test and you do the REM. And then in the end, it's just the wax is clogged. So also worth checking that out. And then the third one for the microphones, make sure that you keep the microphones clean. This is a less common thing that we pay attention to because remember, the microphone is the foundation of amplification because that's where the sound actually goes in. So if they're dirty and partially covered by dirt, they can be cleaned carefully with a small brush, which is provided with our HearLink 50. And then lastly, for the battery contacts, if a hearing aid often runs out of power, it could be due to the battery contacts. So the charging contacts on the HearLink 50 should be checked for dirt, corrosion, and should be cleaned with a dry cloth if needed. The good news is that the design of these contacts is designed like it so that when you put it in the charger, it actually scrapes this contact. So it's cleaned indirectly every time you place it in the charger and take it out. So that's a good news. So for those who may not be familiar, we have a new tool for putting and removing the new mini fit detect receivers in a light tip or a micromold. And here is an instructional video explaining how to use the new tool. All right, so now that you've seen that, you can see that the design of the wax filter is also newer, and that's actually essentially to use less plastic. You know, it goes with the approach that Philips is trying to do in terms of being a bit more eco-friendly and aware. And that also shows up in our packaging. So now let's talk about the chargers for the HearLink 50 family. Now we are able to offer 2 chargers for the HearLink 50 mini-right, and both chargers, of course, are designed to provide convenient charging and a full day of battery life, including when streaming from other devices. So as you can see on the slide right here, your client can choose between the charger mini-right, which sits on the bedside table and easily lets the user charge their hearing aid as they sleep. And then on the right that you see there, it's new because that is our newest Charger Plus mini-right. And that gives your client more flexibility in terms of portability, and it allows them to keep the hearing aids powered and protected on the go. So someone also asked me, can I just use a Charger Plus mini-right for home so they don't have to have 2 different chargers? By all means, feel free to do that. Although be aware that if your Charger Plus mini-right is not connected to a power outlet and it sits unused for a whole year, there is a lithium-ion battery there. You do need to charge it from time to time, and that's one thing you should consider if you're planning to use Charger Plus as the main charger. One important thing, guys, is make sure that you also update the firmware version of HearLink 50 to version 1.0.1 or later to make it compatible to be used with the Charger Plus. So that's very important because if you don't update the firmware of HearLink 50, then that means you cannot charge it with the Charger Plus. So some information about the new Philips Charger Plus mini-right. There we go. Is that okay, sorry. I was distracted for a while. So it provides portable, let me see, there we go. So it provides portable and convenient charging and more than a full day of battery compared to HearLink 40, with the freedom to travel light and keep the hearing aids powered and protected on the go. So the Charger Plus mini-right is a very attractive option for travel, and it can also carry a variety of earpiece types. The earpiece cavity was carefully shaped to allow the devices in and prevent them from moving around or lifting or tilting, so it's very stable even when you're traveling with the hearing aids in the Charger Plus. The colored markings, and this is, I think you can just barely see it in that picture, you would see a red dot and also a blue dot. And those colored markings ensure easy and intuitive placement of hearing aids, showing blue for the left and red for the right. And we also have this version in gray, which provides this nice contrast to the usual darker colored charger, and it makes it easier also for your client to see how the devices should be put in the hearing aid. In this picture, again, okay, there's my laser. Around the hearing aids, you see this gray surrounding, and that helps them know where to put the hearing aid. So it's really designed with the client in mind. And then underneath that are magnets inside the charging ports, which use this very high magnet attraction to make sure that the hearing aids are fully inserted in the charger. And it also provides this very tactile feedback to the client that they have placed it correctly in the charger. And then we have the magnetic force within the lid, which provides this really premium feeling. It gives a good tactile and audible feedback when you close and open the lid. And it's kind of like if you have an AirPod or an Apple, what do you call these now? Yeah, it's still AirPods. When you have that feeling, that magnetic feeling, it's the same with our Charger Plus. Yeah, there we go. So now let's talk about the biggest difference with how we used to approach charging with the older HearLink families compared to the newer HearLink 50. With the introduction of this new charging technology for HearLink 50 hearing aids, Philips has actually moved away from inductive charging and has moved into contact charging. Now, I'll explain why we did this change. So with rechargeable batteries, generally battery capacity will actually drop with time over a span of 2-3 years. And this means that your client, in some cases, may start hearing this battery low warning at the end of their day as their hearing aids age over the years. And to combat this, we have recently decided to adopt a constant capacity charging technique, which is now implemented with the HearLink 50. And this is designed to maximize battery life. This technique reserves part of the battery's initial capacity to ensure that it can provide a more stable performance throughout the lifetime of the hearing aid. And the benefit of this is that users can expect to have a more consistent battery performance from day to day across the whole lifetime of the hearing aid. We're assuming, let's go by 5 years here. And this help offsets some unavoidable battery degradation that is inevitable with time. We're trying to counter this by adopting contact charging. So the difference between traditional charging and constant capacity charging is illustrated here. Traditional charging offers a longer battery life at first, but as you can see in this picture, the capacity drops significantly in a relatively short amount of time, meaning that your client may start to hear this low battery warning before the end of their day, and over time, they will have to change the battery. With constant capacity charging, initial capacity is saved in order to get this longer battery life. So this means that the battery is expected to last throughout the lifetime of the hearing aids without your client experiencing a significant drop or need for the battery replacement. Of course, before we introduced contact charging, we did extensive battery testing with different usage patterns. So we did millions of hours of accumulated test time with more than 600 batteries, and we also tested this technology across the full operating temperature range because we know that temperature can affect how the hearing aids are charging, and it also can affect the battery health. And we tested it for an equivalent of up to 5 years of daily use. So you can have really the confidence that our new chargers and our new HearLink 50 batteries are dependable and reliable. And note that with contact charging, the battery cannot unfortunately be changed in the clinic. And this is because the battery is fully integrated and soldered into the hardware of the hearing aid to protect it against moisture, sweat, corrosion, and also debris. So that's definitely a plus if your client is living somewhere warm and humid and generally a tropical place. So therefore, the HearLink 50 must be sent back to service if something goes wrong. You cannot do anything in the clinic. However, under typical usage, and this battery is expected to last at least 5 years, keeping in mind that this can still vary depending on the degree of hearing loss, the environment, and also the amount of streaming. So don't make so much promises to your client, because if they are watching, I don't know, YouTube or TikTok the whole day, then, it might be faster. So this is something also in terms of setting expectations. So the battery will be covered under the warranty of the hearing aid. So for out of warranty hearing aids, a standard repair charge will apply due to the integrated design of the battery. And remember, guys, this is not the time to be creative and try to do something with the battery yourselves, because replacement procedures are much more complex and additional expertise and quality checks need to be performed. So in short, battery issues, send it to the lab. The charging procedure is more or less the same as the Charger Plus that we had for HearLink 40. So you place the hearing aids in the charging port as shown in this picture. You close the lid during charging. So the Charger Plus mini right lid should be closed because it serves as a protection and storage for your hearing aids, and it starts the charging process. During charging, when the lid is opened, the LED on the hearing aids will actually light up to indicate the charging status, whether it's fully charged or still charging. And when the hearing aids are taken out of the charger, they will automatically turn on and the user is ready to go. So the Charger Plus contains also this lithium-ion battery that doubles as a power bank. And when this charger is plugged into a power source, both the hearing aids and the charger are being charged. So when the charger is unplugged from a power source, the charger enters power bank mode, which allows for the hearing aids to charge when there is no access to a power source. So on the left, under power bank battery, if you are charging the power bank battery alone, the charging time is up to 4 hours, depending on the current existing level. And if it is fully drained, including with the hearing aids, and they're put inside the Charger Plus, then it can take up to 6 hours to charge. Again, depending on the current level, it might be less. So lithium-ion batteries are considered dangerous goods, which means that they can pose a safety risk if not handled in accordance with transport regulations as when you're flying. And the user needs to be aware of this when they are traveling. So, when traveling by plane, the client must bring the Charger Plus as hand luggage in the aircraft cabin. It cannot be packed in the suitcase and checked in. It is the responsibility of the client to ask the airline for details regarding transportation on the plane and to follow specific guidelines and regulations of the airlines. So it's also his responsibility to follow these rules and ask the airline if they're not sure, because some airlines might be a bit more relaxed, but as a rule, bring it in your hand carry. And here is an overview of the currently available chargers that we have for the various HearLink hearing aid families. You can see that for the new HearLink 50, we have the home, one for home, which is a Philips charger mini right, and the one for traveling, which is a Charger Plus. And if we look at the HearLink 40 and 30 family, it is compatible with these 4 devices, because remember, we also have the mini BTE. So there's that. And then lastly, we also have this charger for the HearLink 10. If you're still using a rechargeable device model for HearLink 10, then it's available only with a Charger Mini Right TR. And if your client is using a cross solution, it's available for the Mini Right charger and also the Mini Right Charger Plus, because we don't have a mini BTE model for the cross. Now, before getting started with HearLink 50 hearing aids in the clinic, just a few practicalities. A lot of them are related to our lithium-ion batteries. So with the new Mini Right and charger, it is now possible to actually fit the hearing aids while they are in the charger. So this means it's a little bit extra flexibility for you since you can program or update the hearing aid firmware without charging them before you see your client. And when connected to the hearing aids, while they are placed in the charger, a notification will appear in HearSuite to tell you that the hearing aids are now charging. And this is possible because the hearing aids are actually on when in the charger. That's why it allows them to still connect to the software and also to the app, unlike previous generations of rechargeable HearLink devices. And before fitting the devices, it's important to distinguish, of course, between the left and the right hearing aid, as they may be programmed differently for the client depending on the hearing loss, right? So as you can see, the left or right indicator is placed on the lower part of the outer shell, right above the charging contacts. And the first two images show how to put it on as so. You just push it in, twist it, and then it's like that. And in case you need to take it out, maybe you did it wrongly, you can use the red tool to remove it, as shown on the third picture. Now, this is important because in order to keep the rechargeable batteries happy and healthy, HearLink 50 also has a battery protection, just like HearLink 40. And as a reminder for some of you who don't use this battery protection mode, it is a mode where the rechargeable battery powers down to the very minimum while not being actively used. This way, the rechargeable battery is prevented from discharging below the point from where it can still be woken up. That's what happens to your smartphones or rechargeable devices that you haven't used for years because the battery dies because it has reached that point where it cannot be woken up anymore. So it's very important. The rechargeable styles are by default in battery protection mode once you receive them from the warehouse, and this ensures that the battery has sufficient charge to perform the first fitting, even after 12 months of storage or inactivity. However, and I want you to pay attention, guys, because we have some customers complaining that the rechargeable battery doesn't last a full day after 1 or 2 years of using the hearing aid. And the reason is because at the start, these rechargeable hearing aids were kept in storage for too long. And that is why I recommend that you charge the hearing aids 100% the moment you receive them in your clinic, to make sure, just in case, that this doesn't happen in the future. And your clients, they come back after 2-3 years and they start complaining, oh, it doesn't last anymore. Oh, I need to have, there's something wrong with the battery. So if you don't already know, the hearing aids will have a best before date printed on the blister package. And it shows, that date shows the 12 months after production. So this is one way of knowing when it was produced and how old the hearing aids are. Pay attention to this date so you know when the batteries might expire. If the mini right will not be used for a significant period, let's say more than 2 weeks, it is recommended to put the hearing aids back into battery protection mode to protect the battery. Otherwise, the rechargeable battery may need to be replaced before fitting the hearing aid to a client. As the battery cannot be replaced in the clinic or by the local service and repair team, it should also be put into battery protection mode before shipping it for repair. Very important, guys. So you can activate the battery protection mode for HearLink 50 by following these steps. Connect the hearing aids to HearSuite using NoaLink Wireless. Go to Tools and select Set to Battery Protection Mode. Then after that, click Save on the battery protection mode pop-up window that you see on your right screen. So the hearing aids will be automatically disconnected from HearSuite, and then they're ready for shipment or for storage. So if you need to wake up the hearing aids from the battery protection mode, of course, you can easily do it in a few steps. Place the hearing aid in the charger and wait for the LED to turn on. It will be orange to indicate charging status. And then you can lift and remove the hearing aids from the charger. The LED will turn green and the startup jingle will play. So you can now connect the hearing aids wirelessly to HearSuite, again using NoaLink Wireless. Now, enough charger talk. Let's move over to technology. And I'll just quickly touch on SoundMap as the main technology for Philips HearLink. So that's just a quick review. And you will see then a super cool video on the new star of SoundMap 3, which is SoundGuide. So SoundMap processing has always been at the very heart of Philips AI sound technology. And SoundMap has been built to rely on several dimensions of sound processing to determine the best settings for the hearing aid user in order to hear speech clearly. And with Philips HearLink 50, along with the rest of the HearLink family of hearing aids, all of them are fundamentally based on 3 pillars of sound processing. And they are SoundMap noise control. So just to remind some of you guys who has been with Philips for a long time and you need a little refreshing from time to time, SoundMap noise control is this sophisticated noise control technology, and now including SoundGuide, of course, that can handle even the most noisy and demanding environments. Then you have SoundMap amplification. That is the second pillar of SoundMap, which is advanced amplification with integrated noise reduction, and that preserves speech information in varying noise levels. And finally, don't forget SoundMap feedback canceller. This is a patented technology, meaning that it is not found in other hearing aids, and it uses this special breaker signal that detects and eliminates this feedback loop before it becomes audible to your client. And SoundGuide is a new AI technology, and it tailors the sound based on the motion of the client. And that puts the client at the center of their hearing journey, because HearLink 50 with SoundGuide not only understands the environment around the user based on the sound, but it also understands what kind of activity in terms of physical movement they are engaged in. So for many years, hearing aids have relied on directional microphones to improve the SNR, or the signal to noise ratio, thereby improving the speech intelligibility and noise. And these beamformers, these directional microphones, have been and still are extremely important in this hearing aid automation to make sure that the client is getting the best access to clean and clear speech. However, it might become challenging in dynamic real-world situations when movement is involved. So by adding information about the client's physical movements, this can add an important dimension for hearing speech clearly in a more dynamic situation. While listeners often naturally turn their heads to look at the person they're speaking to, they cannot be expected to completely face a conversation partner while they're walking on a busy street or hearing someone approaching from behind. So in these conditions, automated beamformers may actually attenuate important sounds to the sides and behind the listener's head, and this potentially reduces speech understanding in noise. And that is why therefore, this information about the physical movements can really add this important dimension for hearing speech clearly. And this high priority, it's really important for anyone with a hearing loss, especially if they're going out and about. So Sound Guide is available for HearLink 9050 and 7050. And for the next slide, you will see this fantastic new animation on this feature. And then after that video, Christina will take over to talk about the updates for HearSuite and SoundType 3. So you might not hear the audio, that is okay. You will see and read the subtitles of the video. Okay, guys?
This is HearLink 50. HearLink 50 relies on three
There you go. All right. Now, Christina can take over.
Okay, excellent. Thank you so much, Marielle. Marielle, please allow me to answer one question, which I think it's important, just in case this person has to leave immediately after 1 hour. The question was actually, if I order products today, do they come with an update firmware, or do I still need to update? A serial number, batch number would help. So I just would like to add quickly, regrettably, I think it's not possible to have a serial batch number because the numbers, they are a bit random, you know, consisting of numbers and letters. However, the stock of Philips HearLinks is very, very limited. It's extremely small, and very commonly the instruments are produced on order. So I think you can expect, if you order hearing instrument today, that they will actually come with the latest firmware. So,
Yes, I
but
believe so. You're right, Christina.
just thought this is important to mention because some people maybe have doubts about this. But yeah, okay. Now, thank you very much, Marielle, for refreshing all the nice details. And I'm very, very sure you, as hearing care professional, that's all your daily work, your daily tasks. So I would like now to tell you what is actually new in the HearSuite fitting software, because with a new instrument, now we have also updated the HearSuite fitting software. The latest version, which you can download, is 2024.2. What is actually new is a faster feedback manager. Then for those who do real ear measurement with our Philips Real Ear Fit measurement protocol, there are some faster access to the different protocols. Now it's possible to blur the background if you do remote fittings for more privacies. There is some more details about the call controls update. We provide some more valuable information about the software. And also we have some new information about the service check mode in the audible indicator, which now can be deactivated. Now, let's have a quick talk about the feedback manager. How did the feedback manager actually work in the previous instrument, including HearLink 40? Previously, when running a feedback manager, it would take approximately 3 to 4 seconds before the white noise was started. And this happened because the fitting software and the hearing aid had always to communicate and synchronize to ensure that the fitting software had the necessary information to do the calculation required and begin the test. The speed of this communication also depended on other factors like the clinician's hardware, the speed of the clinician's computer, and the strength of the connection between the hearing aid and the fitting software. And all these different factors resulted in a delay of the emission of the white noise signal. Now, the feedback manager is embedded directly in the hearing instrument, meaning the fitting software simply asks the hearing aid to perform the feedback test, and the measurement is sent back to the fitting software when it is completed. And this indeed can significantly reduce the delay in the emission of the white noise. In turn, it reduces the time of the measurement by 22%. 22% does not sound a lot, but also for the hearing aid user, to hear this noise 22% less is actually quite significant. I just would like to show you in an animation where we compare the feedback measurement between HearSuite 24.1 and the new version 24.2. What you can see here is 2 screenshots of the feedback measurement, and below, this was actually too fast, and below actually you will see a bar which I am popping up right now. So you can compare the speed of the bar here below, I'm using my mouse, between the old version and the new version to actually see the improvement. So I will just quickly, let me switch it off again. Just quickly go back. Okay. Now you see the animation. Somehow I have a problem in starting it. Okay. Okay, now instead you are getting all these nice points. Let's try again. All right. Anyhow, so it did not really work, but what you will see now also then in the video, which you will get, that the speed of the 24.1 is actually much slower than compared to the 24.2 version. Now, for those of you who do Real Ear Fit measurements with the Philips HearSuite Real Ear Fit protocol, it is now easier to access the measurement protocol in Real Ear Fit, which means you are now, if you do use Real Ear Fit measurements, you are now able to change the Real Ear Fit measurement protocol under Fit instrument in REM. So if we have, the Fit instrument and then on the REM, you will see the 2 protocols which can be selected. So you can actually check immediately in this menu. You can change from insertion gain to actually speech mapping. You don't need to start opening the test and start going into the other menu. It can be done immediately in the first menu. In addition, now there will be some explanation popping up for the insertion gain and the speech mapping. So whenever you want to have more information, then you will see this bar will be popping up, and it will indicate for the insertion gain, actually, it is the amount of additional gain provided by the hearing instrument on top of the natural gain of the ear canal, real ear under the grain, measured at the eardrum. And then the text which will appear for the speech mapping will be, speech mapping refers to the display of RER ear targets and measurements in an output view, including the audiogram threshold and uncomfortable loudness level. So it depends on you which protocols you see, if you are using speech mapping or if you are using insertion gain. Now, the other next feature is actually if you do remote fitting. So I think today remote fitting is still quite nice feature. If your client needs support by you, if he has issues and he cannot come to your clinic immediately, he may call you and you can do a remote fitting session and you have almost access to all features. And now it is possible that you can hide the background in your clinic so that it preserves a little bit your privacy. And blurring the background can be in two ways. You can actually blur the background before you do start the remote fitting session. So if you activate remote fitting and then you can select the camera, then here instantly you will now find the option background. So here you can blur or unblur your background. Or you can also blur and unblur your background if you have already started the remote fitting. And also when the picture pops up, you see already the client. And then here you also, down where the other options are, chat, audio, you will also now find the new option, blur. So it's possible to either blur it during the fitting or before you want to start fitting. I think this is a very, very nice option as well. Then we have added or we have improved or actualized the finish session, which means now under finish session and then call controls, you will find more information regarding the time the user needs to hold down the button for different actions. So if you go with the mouse cursor over the slider of call controls or tab controls, then this message will appear. In addition, we have had some complaints in the past that if the hearing instrument goes to the service check mode, if the hearing aid user is alerted that something may be wrong with his hearing instrument, but it still worked, that it continuously beeped, and this was somehow bothersome for some hearing aid users. Therefore, now it is possible that you can deactivate the service check mode under audible indicators so that the instrument will not constantly beep if it had to be sent for checkup. Until now, you could only disable the alert in the visible indicators, but now here you will see under audible indicators, service check mode, now it is also possible to toggle the service check mode off. Now, In some rare cases, it may happen during a fitting session that the hearing aid may lose Bluetooth connection to the fitting software and then it gets stuck. With the previous hearing aids on the platform, they could be simply inserted into the charger and then the instruments were rebooted and could be reconnected to the fitting software. But now this functionality is no longer available because the hearing aids are still on while they are in the charger and because they can also be fit whilst they are charging. Now, in situation where this would actually happen and the hearing aids would disconnect from the fitting software and is locked in the fitting mode, a hard reset of the hearing instrument is required. It's very simple to do this hard reset. Press and hold the push button for 30 seconds to reboot the instrument completely. The hearing instruments will then start up normally and can be reconnected or redetected in the software. Now, as a summary, these were the main updates which we have included in HearSuite 24.2. Again, short summary, we have now the faster feedback manager. We have easier access to the different protocols for those using RealEarFit. We do have the possibility to blur the background of the hearing care professional in remote fitting to offer more privacy. Then there is more information in the call controls update, telling how many seconds the hearing aid user has to press the button. And finally, we do have the ability to turn off the audible indicators for the service check mode. As you know, NoaLink Wireless is used as the only programming device, has been used for HearLink 40, and it continues to be used also for HearLink 50. You need it for programming, and you need NoaLink Wireless also for firmware updates. Now note that the Philips HearSuite will also support the NoaLink Wireless 2. NoaLink Wireless 2 looks identical, but it is an updated version of the NoaLink Wireless. It was released in 2023, and instead of a USB standard port, it has the USB-C port. So sooner or later, the NoaLink Wireless 2 will replace the NoaLink Wireless 1. In case you are interested to get more information, then feel free to check on the HIMSA website. There are more information, what are the details, the actualization for the NoaLink Wireless 2. I think at this point, we do not want to go into more details. For you, it's important to know it just works the same and it just can be connected to a USB port. Now, a new update, firmware update, is available for HearLink 50, and it's always recommended to update the hearing instruments. If the client comes back to your clinic and you see that an update is available, then recommend to do it. Well, what are the improvements with the HearLink firmware update for HearLink 50, the firmware 1.1.0? First of all, it's a dedicated streaming pathway for a stream signal. I will talk about this in a moment. Then, most importantly as well, you have improved connectivity related to connection stability to iPhone and Android phones. You have optimized sound quality in phone calls and also the tap functionality to answer phone calls has been improved because there were some issues in some cases where it did not work properly. And in addition, of course, you have all the new updates which I have shown you in the HearSuite software, feedback management, possibility to turn off service check mode, battery protection functionality, detection of the hearing instruments in the audio in the in-situ audiometry screen and a faster saving functionality in the fitting session. So you see, with a simple upgrade of the firmware, you can have a number of great benefits, not only for your customer, but also to making your life every day easier. Thanks to the support of Bluetooth and LE audio technology in hearing aids, HearLink 50 can connect to wireless devices that have LE audio, which is in Android devices. That means that HearLink 50 now supports hand-free communication and direct streaming with compatible Android 14 devices. HearLink 50 will also be ready for Auracast broadcast audio, which Mariel also mentioned before. It's not a standard yet, and because Auracast is not available in many places, but there will be more Auracast facilities. And then the great thing is to know that our HearLink 50 instrument, they are prepared and they could start using Auracast broadcast immediately. Note that iPhone, iPad, and Mac products continue to use their proprietary Bluetooth protocols that allows hearing aids compatibility. This means that LE audio is currently not supported in these products. I mentioned before this dedicated streaming path, which is also a new option for the firmware update. I will explain you what this is. As we know, streaming is important and likely become even more important as time goes on. Therefore, we want to ensure that we continue to put focus on streaming and keep optimizing as we go along. Therefore, we have introduced this new dedicated path for streaming signals for HearLink 50 hearing aids. What is a dedicated streaming path? Previously, for HearLink 40 and more previous, all input signals, which were not the microphone inputs, were grouped together under one auxiliary path. This auxiliary path combined inputs from telecoil, direct audio input, and wireless streaming. Now, mixing the auxiliary streamed signal with the microphone signal could potentially mean that the stream signal may be affected or interrupted when very loud sounds were picked up by the microphone. Consequently, when in the presence of these very loud sounds, where the hearing aid gain is attenuated, it could also attenuate the level of the streamed signal. And on rare occasions, this attenuation in the signal could potentially be heard or noticed by the hearing aid wearer. An example of such a scenario where this could happen could be someone walking down a busy street while streaming some music, and then a very loud truck passes by. The microphone input would be attenuated to ensure it's not too loud for the user, which in turn could also decrease the level of the streamed music signal. To prevent this potential scenario, we are introducing this new dedicated streaming path for all wirelessly streamed sounds. With the introduction of the streaming path, the signal now gets its own amplification and compression and is processed separately from the microphone input. This means that the gain for the stream signal will be maintained in cases where the gain for the microphone inputs might have been attenuated. So in addition of the dedicated streaming path, this ensures that all music, calls, video and sounds are now better protected from listening interruptions, such as the example which I have just mentioned a few seconds ago. And important, to activate this dedicated streaming path, you would need to have the latest firmware version. You as a Philips hearing care professional, you are in a great position because you do have a hearing instrument which is absolutely unique. Philips has the advantage of being the only hearing aid brand with premium technology, which is recognized by the consumers. And you can use this benefit to actually get potentially more visitors through the door. Remember that Philips was pioneers in the era of artificial intelligence sound technology. It was actually the first ever instrument using artificial intelligence noise reduction. Philips keeps its promise to the user by offering artificial intelligence sound technology designed to make speech clearer and to help hearing aid users to create connection to the other people and to everybody all around the world. Philips continually introduces advancements to its sound map, sound processing, and you can always be sure that the hearing aid users are at the center of their hearing journey and that we help them to create their connections. Now, with this, I would like to see if we got some more questions in the chat. Marielle?
Nope, no more questions.
So
You
we
answered
have
them
already
beautifully.
answered the most important one. Yes, I see that a few people already had to leave. So then maybe we go straight through the end. If you still have questions, please write it down in the chat.
And also, but I would like to add regarding the video, I think in the chat someone was commenting whether the video was available.
Correct.
I didn't see it in the Philips YouTube channel, so I'm gonna add that video in my own YouTube channel and send you the link to that.
Correct. Actually, I wanted to check on the website, but then I would have to leave the session. So yeah, but certainly if it's not available yet, then it will be uploaded soon. And if you provide this video, Marielle, it's even better. Okay.
We got one question. It just was added. What exactly is self-calibration in MiniFit Detect speakers? So, with regards to the self-calibration functionality, it is actually programmed into the memory chip found in the speaker. So whenever the output of the hearing aid exceeds the tolerance level, so let's say it's +1 or -1, that is actually the range of which the speakers can control the difference in the output. Basically, it monitors the output and it adjusts in order to make sure that the sound coming out is as it was programmed in HearSuite. So
correct. And what? Just maybe let me quickly add, why is this important? I think it's a great feature because everyday use, maybe it's not that important, but it will become very important once the hearing aid user needs to change the speaker. And we know that mini-ride speakers, they need to be changed from time to time. And there, with this self-calibration, then we can make sure that the hearing instrument every time has a same output. So if the client has new speakers, then the instrument will not sound all of a sudden softer or louder. It will be identical because the output will be adapted to the previous output the instrument had. Very, very great, and it's an important feature. Yes.
All right, let's proceed.
Okay, so I would like to remind you of a few resources which are not exclusively about the HearLink 50, and I think we already talked about it in the last webinar, but it's always great to remind you because maybe not everybody could attend all the webinars. So we do have, of course, the compatibility guide on the Philips Hearing Solution website. So if we go to that link, look for compatibility, then you will see all the Philips HearLink instruments, how they are compatible with the different phones which are in the market, Android phones and iPhones. And it's always very nice for you, but also for the hearing aid user, to double check if you are not certain. If your user asks you, he would like to buy a new phone, that may be even first in the compatibility guide, check which smartphones are compatible to which hearing aid families or to which hearing aids. And in addition, also, Marielle mentioned the YouTube channel. There are great videos on the YouTube channel. A few examples, actually, I can show you on this slide. So the animation which Marielle has showed you about Philips HearLink 50 can be downloaded from the YouTube channel. Then we do have a sound guide, which is quickly explained by one of the trainers of the Philips team. Then we do have other videos, how to accept phone calls with the tap control function, and many others. So really, that's the great benefit of being a Philips supplier. We have lots of Philips videos which are actually tailor-made for the end user. So explore it and look for a video if you think you would need some help, and you would find a great number of different videos. Now, in addition, we have just released a new charger overview. I think Marielle will also share this charger overview with you. It's a summary of all the chargers which we now have for the latest HearLink 40 and 50 instrument, which includes all the different chargers which are available. And then also, we have released a new white paper. So if you would like to know more about audiology, if you would like more details about the sound guide, about this movement, new movement feature, then feel free also to have a look at this new white paper about the sound guide in the new Sound Map 3 technology. Okay, so with this, we have actually come to the end.
And regarding the questions, the extra questions on the chat, I will answer that in the follow-up email, okay? So everyone can also benefit from the wonderful questions we've had from you guys, and the answer can be read at your own time. All right?
Okay.
So yeah, I think that ends our presentation. Thank you so much for sticking with us.
Thank you so much for joining us today. Have a wonderful weekend and see you soon.
Yes.
Bye-bye.
Bye.